All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the New York Foreign Press Center. My name is Melissa Wahaibe. I'm happy to see those in the room, and to those joining online, hello to you as well. Today's briefing is on the safe, secure, and successful World Cup. We're delighted to have Andrew Giuliani, White House Task Force Executive Director, and Maura Namdar, Assistant Secretary of State for Consular Affairs. So they will start with opening remarks, and then we'll have a time of Q&A, which I will moderate. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to a place that I know pretty well, the city of New York here. If you guys have any good pizza or you need any good pizza recommendations, I'm happy to give you a couple different pizza tours, whether we're going to Brooklyn and doing Ellen B. Spumoni Gardens and Grimaldi's, or if we're going to go down to the West Village here and stay in Manhattan and hit Bleecker Street Pizza. You got to get the Nona Maria when you go to Bleecker Street Pizza, John's of Bleecker, which is one of my friend Dave Portnoy's favorite places, and then Joe's. But you can get a really good slice. I would not recommend, and I'm sorry for all those people that own it, I wouldn't recommend the $1.50 slices, or if you do, only have one or two, because you're going to get really a little stomach ache if you have too much of that stuff. But good morning. I'm happy to join you here today as we wrap up the 2026 FIFA World Cup. As I mentioned in D.C. last week, I think it was last week, time's a bit of a warp here over the last 36 days, we're on the verge of completing what is already the largest and what will no doubt be remembered as the most successful international sporting event in history. On behalf of the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, I'm proud to reflect on what this 2026 FIFA World Cup has meant to the United States. It was President Trump's vision that secured this World Cup in 2018 as the 45th President of the United States during his first term. And it's been his leadership that has guided us to this unprecedented moment during his 47th presidency, his second term. President Trump's vision has come to life, and we are closing out the most attended, most viewed, most secure, and most successful World Cup in history. More than 6.5 million people have attended FIFA World Cup matches, more than double, or I should say more than the previous two World Cups combined. And we're on our way to doubling the attendance record from the 1994 World Cup, which coincidentally was also held right here in the United States of America. Stadiums were filled with 99.7% capacity. I remember hearing a lot of questions, both from friends here locally and then from abroad, about whether or not there'd be empty stadiums. Well, 99.7 capacity, and I could tell you the last two matches will be sellouts as well. So we'll have to see if that ticks up to 99.8. I like 99.9. I don't know if I could get to 99.9, but I'd like to get there. Nearly 8 million fans have attended FIFA Fan Fest nationwide, and I hope all of you had an opportunity to attend some of the incredible fan zones, whether it's been here in the 5 boroughs of New York, my personal favorite, Staten Island there, or maybe somewhere else around the country, maybe in the National Mall in D.C. I don't know if you got to see any of those beautiful sights right there, but watching the match there with the Capitol in the background was really incredible. Viewership records for soccer here in the United States have been shattered, and billions of viewers across the globe have tuned in to see America at its very best. While the results are impressive, I also want to focus on the long-term impact and the lessons learned from this extraordinary experience. The true legacy of this World Cup extends far beyond the scoreboard. First, the economic impact. Host cities welcomed millions of visitors, revitalized their hospitality industries, improved transportation, and renewed investments in local business districts. Dallas right now is projecting over $2 billion in economic activity just during the tournament, while Seattle businesses reported sales up to 10 times a typical day. Across the host and base camp cities, communities will continue to benefit from improved infrastructure, and the impact will only grow as these tourism dollars are reinvested into local economies, supporting the small businesses that drive American innovation and competitiveness. Another long-lasting success story is our international cooperation. I'd like to congratulate our partners, Canada and from Mexico on putting together a fantastic job co-hosting here of this. They each hosted 13 matches each, and they did a fantastic job. Visa modernization, information sharing, and collaborative planning proved that you don't have to choose between welcoming millions of international visitors and keeping your citizens and those international visitors safe. I will let Maura speak to that. My great friend, Maura Namdar, who has really led this process. I get a lot of the credit for all the work that Maura Namdar and her team at Consular Affairs does and the work that Secretary Rubio does, and I can't wait for her to speak here. But it's been really almost unbelievable how the entry process have been streamlined and visa appointment wait times have plummeted under the leadership of Assistant Secretary Namdar, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Mullen, and of course, my good friend, President Donald Trump. We also were successful in collaborating with our international partners on safety and security. The FBI hosted the International Police Cooperation Center, which collected representatives from federal agencies and law enforcement from 44 team countries and all 16 host cities across North America, including co-nations Mexico and Canada. That's North America. So in one room, operating as a secure, real-time command post. This collective of law enforcement officers enabled real-time intelligence sharing and collaboration to address threats across host cities and beyond borders. In addition to the international coordination to keep the matches safe within the United States, over 50 federal departments and agencies, alongside over 400 state and local law enforcement organizations, have been working together for the past year, and they continue to work together through when that final whistle blows on Sunday. This partnership and information sharing has ensured and continues to ensure that we are prepared for any potential threats. The United States has the best law enforcement in the world, and their professionalism, their dedication exemplify American ideals. I personally thank you, all those men and women in blue. If you get the opportunity this weekend or at some point next week, and you see somebody throughout the heat of this summer for them to do the incredible work of protecting the stadiums, protecting the fan festivals, protecting all of the different hotels where they were, didn't matter what country you were from, they went out there, sacrificed the time this summer with their family and did it. So please thank a law enforcement officer if you see them for their dedication this week. And now, coming out of this incredible World Cup, the structures that we created for coordination will be the foundation for protecting large events in the future. And man, what a lineup do we have here in the United States. I want to specifically call out all that has been achieved in counter-drone security. Thanks to the leadership of the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the federal government has seized more than 700 drones flying in restricted airspace around stadiums and fan festivals. Beyond the dedication of more than 1,600 drones, beyond the detections of more than 1,600 drones over the past 36 days. So 1,600 drones have been detected in our temporary flight restrictions, 3 miles wide around the stadiums, 1 mile wide around the Fan Fest. 1,000 miles up, 1,000 feet up around the Fan Fest, 3,000 feet up around the stadiums. These host cities are now equipped with permanent counter-drone capabilities thanks to the $500 million in funding from the One Big Beautiful Bill. And just to give you a perspective of all the work that's been done on this over the last 13 and a half months, it really has been incredible. It starts with President Trump signing the Air Sovereignty Task Force executive order. That created the Air Sovereignty Task Force. We on the White House Task Force worked hand in glove with Dr. Gorka, who ultimately led that effort right there. At the same time, President Trump made sure that this $500 million counter-UAS pot would be in the One Big Beautiful Bill. We, on the White House Task Force, worked very closely with the Air Sovereignty Task Force to make sure that the first $250 million of counter-UAS reimbursement to these state and locals would go to the 11 host states and adjoining states, right? New York's not hosting a match, but obviously hosting a lot of events, and to the National Capital Region in light of all the SEER level events that were going to be here. On top of that, We worked to make sure that the Safer Skies Act got passed in December in the NDAA. What that did was that set the groundwork to allow state and local law enforcement the authority and the ability to be able to make sure that they could push the button to mitigate against drones. But that wasn't all. The FBI had to stand up a schoolhouse in Huntsville, Alabama, that would train state and local law enforcement and gain expertise on that. Then, hopefully soon to be Attorney General Blanche, he actually had to go and deputize these state and local law enforcement so that way they would have the ability to sit with the FBI at fan festivals. Feds took all 11 sites at stadiums, but we ended up having each fan fest, each official fan fest, and each stadium covered for the 78 matches and every single day that an official fan fest was open. When you take that and you compare it to 2025, 5 SEER-level events around the United States of America had counter-drone capabilities. This year, for the World Cup alone, 326 events. That shows you what operating in Trump time actually can do and how you can protect stadiums, you can protect gatherings, American citizens, and our international friends. Finally, one of the legacy items that I love, the partnerships and the people. Our task force brought together, as I mentioned before, 50 federal agencies who then built networks across state and local governments and nonprofit and private sector organizations as well. One of our biggest legacies, it's not a stadium or a building, but the relationships and the partnership model that will be the foundation of what we do when the United States hosts the Olympics and every other future major sporting event during this golden age of sports in America. And the people. Soccer brings together people who may not share the same language, may not share the same religion, may not share the same political beliefs, but they share the excitement of the beautiful game. At this perfect moment, during America's 250th birthday, visitors experienced American greatness, generosity, and hospitality, while Americans embraced culture from every corner of the world. Americans fell in love with the World Cup, and the world fell in love with America again. It's the Scots' kinship in Boston. I think they alone probably added a couple $2 billion to New England GDP from what I was seeing. It's the Japanese showing the incredible respect for the stadium. It's the Norwegians rowing around the United States of America. It's the Dutch orange bus, which, look, I'm a New York Knicks fan. I was a little busy the last 2 months, so I didn't really get to watch much basketball. I didn't get to any games, and I did not get to the ticker tape parade here in New York. I was trying to chase down that orange bus, but I couldn't get on that orange bus. Too bad. We'll just have to do that during the next World Cup here in the United States. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. It's the tiny nation of Cabo Verde, the Davids, taking Goliath and Messi in Argentina to extra time. It's Kansas's love for the Algerian Desert Foxes. It's the love of Waffle House and Buc-ee's and ranch dressing. Little secret, I like my buffalo wings with blue cheese, but don't tell anybody that. And it's the United States national team, inspiring a nation and showing their depth of character, even in their lowest moment. After the loss to Belgium, what did they do? They thanked the fans, they came together in the middle of the pitch, and they prayed together. This is a team that we're honored to have represent the United States of America. Serving as the executive director of the White House Task Force has been the greatest honor of my career and one of the greatest honors of my life. I've witnessed extraordinary dedication from host cities, law enforcement, volunteers, and countless public servants, and seen what is possible when we all unite behind a common purpose. Our efforts strengthened economies, deepened international friendships, and most importantly, allowed millions of fans and families to enjoy unforgettable memories in a safe and welcoming environment. I remember as an 8-year-old going to the World Cup with my parents. And one of the things in this job that I've tried to take with me is all the focus on getting people into the United States, all the focus on keeping people safe when they're here, getting them around the country, all the legacy items. I've wanted people, whether it's Americans or international friends, to be able to see this World Cup through the eyes of an 8-year-old. And I think we've seen that here not just around the country, but around the world. And as we pass the torch to Morocco, Portugal, and Spain, I really don't want to pass the torch. I couldn't even get it out right there. But as we pass the torch to Morocco, Portugal, and Spain, who will host the World Cup next? We do so with optimism and friendship. Get ready for an experience so much bigger than what happens on the pitch. So with that, let's go for these final two matches. We're looking for an historic showdown between the 2010 World Cup champion Spain and, look, the greatest of all time, Messi. I mean, the way that he called for the ball after the first 80 minutes there yesterday, the way he drew over that defender in the first goal right there, unbelievable. I mean, did you guys see him he was calling for it. He said, give me the ball now. Reminded me of Michael Jordan the day. Again, as a Knick fan, he broke my heart enough. I'm sure the English can feel the same way, and we can go have a pint at the pub here talking about that. The way he called for that ball was unbelievable. And then that beautiful cross where he put it right on his head, unbelievable. And beyond that, we look forward to hosting the 2028 Summer Olympics, potentially the 2031 Women's World Cup, and the Winter Olympics coming back to Salt Lake in Utah in 2034. And then, I like to say, who knows what's next? With President Trump at the helm, the best is yet to come. And with that, I'm happy to introduce my great friend, somebody who made all the success of this task force possible in terms of getting in the millions of international friends, Assistant Secretary Maura Namdar. Maura?
Thank you. Appreciate it. So first and foremost, of course, thank you for Andrew. He gives more than credit when credit is due and has been an incredible leader in this process. And getting to know you and your lovely wife has been one of the greatest joys of this process. And I'm so happy to work with you. We could not have a better person leading the charge for sports in America. Thank you all for being here. So it's a tough act to follow when you have Andrew Giuliani leading the charge. But as we close this historic tournament, I wanted to thank everybody in the team of Consular Affairs. Our bureau is more than capable. I was so extraordinarily lucky to inherit such a great team of over 13,000 people. It's the largest bureau at the State Department. So, we do visas, we do passports, we do all American citizens overseas, and all of that came together for the World Cup. Under President Trump and Secretary Rubio's leadership, and as part of this whole of government coordinated, orchestrated approach, the Department of State designed and implemented a rigorous and efficient visa process that successfully facilitated travel to the United States for millions of fans, as well as officials, national delegations, and of course, the teams themselves. And how did we do this? Well, first, under President Trump and Secretary Rubio's leadership, we dramatically reduced wait times. Applicants in more than 80% of countries worldwide have been able to schedule a U.S. visitor visa interview appointment in fewer than 60 days, and in many cases, much, much less. Second, we introduced a completely innovative tool that was called FIFA Pass. So this is the first of its kind tool that allowed people with tickets to the games to essentially schedule an interview and ensure that they had that interview in time for kickoff. This is a tool that we will be using going forward in other similar sporting events. And third, to respond to demands for visa appointments in the surge, we assigned more than 680 additional staff around the world, consular staff, that allowed us to ensure that more than 2 million additional visa appointments became available. So the numbers are pretty staggering, but the team at Consular Affairs was ready to take the task at hand, and I think we did a great job, as Andrew pointed out, but really it's due to each and individual consular officer making sure that they did the work overtime to ensure a great result. Security remains our top priority. As Secretary Rubio said, a visa is a privilege and not a right. So in addition to being extremely efficient, as I've outlined, our visa process for the World Cup and our security process was extremely rigorous. We continue to demonstrate we can do both. We can make sure that our security posture is rigorous and is well-meaning, and also let in the fans that legitimately want to be here and enjoy the United States of America. I think one of the things we loved most was seeing fans from around the world see what America is for themselves and what a beautiful and amazing country it truly is, despite, some of the things they may have heard otherwise. They could see the truth of America for themselves. And getting those fans here to see the country was a great pleasure and a great honor. One of the other things that we did was support Americans traveling abroad. I realize this group is mostly focused on the visa side of our work, but the Trump administration has no higher priority than the safety and security of Americans at home and abroad. So I'll take a few minutes to touch on our support for Americans who travel to Mexico and Canada. So our embassies and consulates in Mexico and Canada prepared for months ahead of time to best serve Americans traveling to those cities. They conducted those cities in those countries. They conducted rigorous training and crisis management services and exercises and undertook coordination with local government and local law enforcement. Through our Smart Traveler enrollment program, known as STEP, we sent our regular safety and security updates to Americans who registered for their travel to Canada and Mexico. We also increased staffing to provide prompt consular assistance to Americans who travel for the tournament. This includes replacing lost and stolen passports, providing consular services with medical emergencies, and other critical tasks. So looking ahead, we will be utilizing all of these systems to organize a safe, secure, and successful 2028 Olympics and Paralympics in Los Angeles and other major U.S.-hosted events. So thank you, and I look forward to your questions. And again, thank you to Andrew for leading the charge on this incredible team.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Troy. So this is time for Q&A. If you have a specific question for one of our principals, please address them so. And if you just have a question, they will determine who best to answer. So
She's going to get all the tough questions. I get the easy ones.
thank
so.
you. And then also please make sure you're on mic because we do have friends watching online. We'll start in the front.
Hi, Matthias Ask with TV2 Norway. You talked about threats, but I think right now most people are worried about the wildfire smoke. Is there any concern at all about the final on Sunday concerning what we're seeing here in the tri-state?
Yeah, there's been discussion about it, and we have somebody with the National Weather Service that sits in FIFA headquarters there, so we're monitoring it closely. I know that the Spanish team came to Montclair, I believe, yesterday. Wasn't sure if they were actually going to come in or maybe stay out there, maybe out of the area so they could practice and come in maybe a little bit later. But it's certainly something that I know that FIFA is discussing. I'm meeting with President Infantino of FIFA around 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock today. So I know that'll be one of the discussion points that we end up talking about.
I hope it's possible to ask a couple of separate questions.
Yeah.
Rob Harris from Sky News. We have been traveling across the US. We've seen all the games. We've been with the England fans. So a lot has been about football, but obviously your presence means some of the bigger issues to discuss. Now, what do you say to critics of Gianni Infantino who suggest he might be unsuitable to be re-elected as president because he bowed to pressure from Donald Trump to lift Balogun's ban and the fact
First
that...
off, the premise of the question is wrong. So the premise that you just said there was that he bowed to pressure of Donald Trump. You're assuming that President Trump pressured Gianni Infantino. So the premise is wrong. So if you want to re-ask it, you can.
Certainly the perception around the world then is that. I mean, what do you say to those around the world who have certainly looked on at this World Cup and seen that Donald Trump has controlled FIFA at this World Cup and ordered Gianni Infantino?
I would say President Trump cares about fair play at the ballot box and he cares about fair play on the pitch. When you think about the fact that you had a FIFA referee in there in the 64th minute that improperly used VAR in that moment. A FIFA referee should know that. That's like for us in American football, right? Those, whether or not you're going to use replay during a pass interference call. Somebody who's at the very top of their profession should know that. Then you add to the fact that he was questioned in a match-fixing investigation just a few short years ago in Brazil for, quote, issuing improper red cards. We put billions of federal dollars on the line. We want to make sure this is a safe, secure World Cup where we got plenty of international visitors in, millions of international visitors in, get them around the country. We want to make sure that this game and this World Cup was filled with integrity. I think the decision was absolutely the right decision, and I applaud FIFA for making that decision.
Or is critics at UEFA wrong then, that this damaged the integrity of football?
Absolutely.
Can I just ask a separate question, which is, were Argentina's players wrong to use a World Cup stadium to claim sovereignty of the Falkland Islands, which is territory of your great ally, the United Kingdom? And should those Argentina players who politicised a World Cup match be banned from playing in the final?
Look, we believe in our First Amendment rights here in the United States of America. I think this is going to be an unbelievable final, right? When you think about Argentina, the incredible comeback that they were able to, to make on an English team who was really good. A lot of people thought that this would be the year finally after 60 years that England would make a final. They'd have to wait until 2030 or later. But, you know, Messi is one of the greatest of all time. And in terms of the ability, the opportunity to be able to make, you know, those statements, they have the ability to do that in the United States of America. So
We are 2 years away from the Olympics in Los Angeles. There will be soccer at the Olympics.
Yeah.
One of the big things Donald Trump has talked about is not allowing transgender women to play in women's sport. FIFA, one of the main sports that has not introduced that policy. The International Olympic Committee has asked sports to consider it. Does FIFA need to, in your view, introduce that ban on those who are male at birth? I mean, does FIFA need to introduce a ban on biological
male at
men?
birth, male at birth, so you mean men?
I was just about to say something.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Does FIFA need to introduce the ban that the IOC believes should be adopted to prohibit biological men from competing in women's football at the Olympics?
I'll answer this, I think, very easily, right? Actually, no, I'm going to go a little bit more. In February of 2025, President Trump issued an executive order. I forget the number of it, but I believe the title was Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. He has been intent to make sure that he protects a level playing field for those women, for all those women that work their tail off to be able to make a World Cup, to be able to make a college team. So then that way they do not have to compete against biological men. And I'll look even further than the Summer Olympics in 2028. I'll look at the Women's World Cup. If you guys caught me, I said potentially the 2031 Women's World Cup. I believe we want to host this World Cup, this Women's World Cup, but we're going to make sure that it is in fact only women that are playing in the Women's World Cup. This is a common sense issue, guys. When you think about the size, the speed, the strength, we want to make sure, and President Trump is really a trailblazer in this. Take a look at the chief of staff to the President of the United States of America, having the very first woman ever. This is a president who's employed more females in senior level positions than any other president in the history of the United States of America. He leads from ahead, and he's going to make sure that he protects women and their right to be able to play against women, whether it's on the playing field in college or whether it's on the greatest stage, the Women's World Cup in 2031.
Go ahead.
Hi, Mark Petzke, Der Spiegel, Germany. Two questions. One, I want to follow up on Infantino. Would you recommend him for re-election? You've gotten to know him over the last couple of months, years. If so, why? And the second question is, there's another statistic that's probably a little less fortunate, is the uptick in racism online and in the stands, which people say, some experts say it's a reflection of the political climate worldwide. Yes, let me finish.
Yeah, what measurement? I'm just curious, because I want to understand
compared
the
to
measurement.
Previous World Cups.
What's measuring? What's the citation?
The number of online hate, racist hate online against players.
Okay, who's keeping that metric?
I can show you this after this. I
Please.
don't have it right now, but
Yeah, well, I'll answer the question
yeah.
afterwards once we have it cited. So the
but
first question
generally,
is, Johnny.
it's not a secret, and it's not fake news. So this is happening.
But I'd like to hear the citation,
and
because
it's nothing
ultimately
against
it
the
sounds
US.
like
let
there's
me, let
a.
me finish my question, please. Thank you.
I would love to, but I'd also like to hear the citation of it.
Okay.
Right, I mean,
then
because
come back-
ultimately
I'll
I
come
think you
back
have
to
an
this in 2
agenda,
minutes.
and I want to make sure that we're baselining it with
Yeah.
fact. So if we could baseline it with fact, that would be very helpful.
All right. If I can have the question later on, I
Please,
back to you
give me a
afterwards.
citation, we'll baseline it with
I have
fact.
it
I
in my-
believe it's,
Yes.
you know, it's,
Okay.
I believe you're
I
coming
just
with a
hope you're not
political
avoiding the
motivation
question.
on this one, but yeah.
Okay. And then just talk about Infantino then.
Yes, okay. So I think Gianni Infantino, the partnership that he has had with the U.S. government, with President Donald J. Trump, has led to not just the greatest soccer tournament ever, but really one of the greatest cultural events ever. I think FIFA would be foolish not to reelect him by unanimous margins. This is a man who's taken a World Cup, expanded it out to 48 teams, created, like I said, the greatest cultural event that we've seen in international sport. And on top of that, I think FIFA is going to make 5 times the amount of revenue off of this World Cup than they did the last World Cup. So, look, I've said this, and probably some of my cabinet secretary friends won't love this, but I think Gianni Infantino is the second most charismatic person that I've ever worked with. Donald J. Trump is the first. He has been a fantastic leader, I think, for FIFA. He's been a fantastic cheerleader for the United States. And one of the main reasons why this World Cup has been the incredible success that it has is because of the leadership of the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino. And that relationship that he's been able to foster with President Trump, that's why you're seeing all these beautiful stories of the Scots in Boston, as I mentioned before, the Norwegians and where they're rowing to next. I mean, those two stories are incredible in their own right, to be able to see that. I think it was Holland a couple days ago, go back home, and he had the taxidermy on his head right there, and I hear Wild Bills in Dallas is getting orders through the wazoo. I mean, that's some of the legacy items that we've talked about here in the United States of America for small businesses. Now you're starting to see that Norwegian partnership. I heard that I think it's, I can't remember which city in Scotland, Glasgow, and Boston, there might be a discussion of a sister friendship relationship. I think the New England Patriots want to go play in Glasgow or Edinburgh. This World Cup has been an unbelievable success, and really there are two men that are really at the very top of the helm. One is the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. If you notice, I really like saying 45th and 47th President of the United States. Those dash years were a little rough, so I like to emphasize that. And the FIFA President, Gianni Infantino.
We're going to start here in the front. We'll go online and we'll come back to you, Sandra.
Thank you very much for your time for us today. I'm Thiên Anh. I'm from Vietnam Television. I'm correspondent here as a VTV bureau chief in New York City. So, as my anchor from the TV partner, we are media partner of FIFA, and this is my first World Cup in US.
Are you having fun? You liking it?
Yes,
Good.
I do appreciate, and I'm very impressed with the operation and management team here. I myself experienced with the security checkpoint and the cooling area as well in each match and each stadium. So for the first question, I want to ask you that with the impressive results, what coordination mechanisms made them possible? And the second one is, what was the biggest security challenge in hosting largest World Cup ever? Yeah, I have two questions.
You want to talk a little bit about
Yes.
kind of some of the pieces
Yes.
sides and some
Because
of the numbers?
honestly, I didn't see any I didn't see many safeguards or securities. They must still keep us safe every match, every stadium.
I'll address the security
very
side.
impressive.
But so
Yeah.
much of the
Yes.
stories.
Thank you,
because
thank you.
of the work
Thank you
that
so much.
Consular Affairs did in Orlando.
Sure, thank you. So, of course, the security, on site, that's DHS and interagency partners and Andrew's leadership that really did a great job with that. But speaking to the security as far as letting fans in, we have a very rigorous vetting process. So that is our number one concern in consular affairs, is to ensure that people that are coming to the United States for the visa are using the visa for the purpose that they've intended and not abusing our immigration system, not abusing our invitation to the United States for a visa for a short-term event, whether it's for tourism or journalism or any other means. So we have a very rigorous vetting process. Our consular officers are highly trained, and that is the backbone of our system, is that our consular officers are screening and vetting to a high degree of security to make sure that the proper people that have the proper qualifications can come in, and those that may not have the best of intentions are not invited to come to the United States of America.
And I think just from a security perspective, right, as Morris said, and I learned very early on in this process, every single visa decision is a security decision, right? But then I would look at the footprint around the stadiums, right? We really set these up in the United States like they were 78 Super Bowls in terms of the perimeters. I ended up talking about the counter UAS and kind of that full effort to be able to bring those temporary flight restrictions and make sure that state and local law enforcement had the abilities, the authorities to be able to protect fan festivals on top of the feds protecting all 78 matches from the air, but also from the ground. It's why it probably took, and actually one of the things that I think the messaging got through very, very well, and it was probably seeing this for us from the Club World Cup last year, was how many people were in the stadium a half hour before the match. So FIFA opened up gates 3 hours before. For the final, they'll be there 4 hours before. I can tell you, anybody that has a ticket to the Argentina-Spain match on Sunday, get there early. The President of the United States, as you know, will be coming. There'll be other heads of state that will be there as well. Make sure you get there early. You can get there as early as 11 o'clock. There are activations inside that FIFA's doing. You guys have invested a lot to come to the United States or to just buy your ticket to this World Cup final. Want to make sure that you get in there safe, get in there early. You'll see perimeters continue to be pushed out over these last two matches. Look, this has been a smashing success, this World Cup. I had major visions for this when I took over this task force, and I called the President of the United States, and I told him I believe this would be the largest platform that he had over our 250th birthday to show off American exceptionalism and then the hope and promise of not just America over the next 250 years, but the freedoms that we have here in the United States of America. Think about if all those international visitors, right, are able to come and experience some of the freedoms or the fruits of those freedoms here in the United States, and they take a little bit of that back with them to wherever they go home. That is America first. As President Trump says, America first is not America only. It's America leading the way. And you've seen it during this World Cup.
Hello, thank you for doing that. We enjoy a lot the World Cup. Sandra Muller, la lettre de l'audiovisuel. You forgot France. But I'm gonna.
They forgot to show up the other day. I was looking for a great match between Spain and France, and I think honestly, it really is a testament to Spain because France is such a great soccer country. I mean, you look at the 2018 World Cup. You look at they played the greatest soccer match ever, at least that I've ever seen, in the final in 2022. I mean, I thought it was amazing to see just how well Spain was able to play against, I think what a lot of people thought might be the 2026 World Cup champions in France.
Yes, and our behavior, because we had a lot of attacks from other countries, not from yours, and it was awful for us, but whatever. So I remember you started, guys, in Trump Tower like 2 years ago. The headquarters was there, right? Okay, so my question was, what lesson from the 2020 from this World Cup can you bring to the Women World Cup in 2031? Sorry, I'm tired. And it was so intense. And as the interest in soccer grow in United States as a result of this World Cup, and I would like to know if you have number, if you know, if how it impact, if in 4 years or it's like before there was the Knicks, now there is the soccer. How do you feel about that? I'm gonna stop reading my question if you can. And FIFA, there's a fire now, so something happened. FIFA makes decision on banning Argentina players from World Cup final over Falkland Island flag. Did you hear about that? And how do you feel about that? So thank you. 3 questions. I hope it's okay.
The legacy of what this means from a consular affairs perspective for Olympics and moving forward.
Yeah, happy to. So as far as the legacy, I think that this World Cup has proven that we can have both security and welcome in fans in a great number in a very short time period from all around the world. So I think the legacy is that America is the best host. We are very, very excited to not only host this World Cup, the Women's World Cup going forward, and other great sporting events like the Olympics. So I think the legacy is that America is the best country in the world. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think the fans have seen that we are welcoming. We appreciate everyone from everywhere that's coming in that wants to enjoy and appreciate our culture and our values, and we love hosting and we love showing them that. So I think that's the legacy that we have going forward under the great leadership of President Trump, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Mullins, and of course, Andrew Giuliani. So we're very fortunate to have this great leadership team to be able to show off the values and the amazing things that America has to offer.
And then, the question was about the Women's World Cup.
Oh, Women's World Cup and kind of the movement going forward. Look, I think there's so many lessons learned to be taken to the 2028 Summer Olympics. I mean, that's going to be a completely different problem set, let's say, than this World Cup. I mean, you're talking about, I think, about 15 times the amount of athletes for that from over 200 countries, right? Moore thought she was going to get a vacation after this, but I don't think she's going to get a vacation after this. She'd get maybe a little one in August. Talk to Secretary Rubio about that. But I think it's going to be the Women's World Cup, I think, will be fantastic in 2031. It's why, in my discussions with the president, he's wanted to make sure that the playing field was fair and that it would be In fact, women and only women competing in that World Cup. But I think America showed that from its diversity of beauty to its welcoming spirit, to be able to share our 250th birthday with the rest of the world like this was magical. It was a magical, magical moment. It's been a magical summer. And I think for the 2031 Women's World Cup, as I think about what that can mean as the father of a daughter and how we can inspire other women going forward, think about what that 1999 World Cup did for so many soccer players, not just around the United States, but around the world. It gave them a team that they could not just look up to, but work hard toward, right? Those American ideals of hard work, self-belief, sacrifice for the team, right? Not playing for the name on the back, but the crest on the front of the jersey. So I think there are a lot of great lessons learned. It's why I've been saying the golden age of sport. As you might have noticed, it's a little bit of a play off of our president, and what he says, the golden age of America. It's here, it's upon us. I think we're selling ourselves short when we say the decade of sport, because I really think the United States has shown that there are a lot of countries that can host a good World Cup. And certainly Canada and Mexico were our partners in here. But there's one country that can host the greatest World Cup, and that's the United States of America.
Great. We have a couple minutes left. We have friends online who have questions. We'll start with Jan. If you could engage your microphone and state your name and organization and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. Jan Klaub from German Daily Welt. Mr. Giuliani, the president said a couple of days ago that Spain was a terrible partner and he doesn't want to have anything to do with them anymore. If Spain wins this match, will the president invite the team over to the Oval Office?
The one thing, I've known President Trump for almost 30 years, and I let the president make ultimately the decision, and I'll let him announce whether or not he's going to have the champions come to the White House or not. I think we're all looking forward to a fantastic game. President, more than anything, he's one of the most staunch advocates of our American ideals and our American way of life, and he looks at socialism and communism as a clear and present danger to those. And so I stand by the president and the comments that he made. I'm glad that he leads from ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. Just a quick follow-up. Sorry, but I mean, it would happen. It would have to happen in the next couple of days, right? So if it's not announced by now, it's pretty unlikely that he will invite any of the teams over, right?
Look, I I remember working with President Trump in the first term, and he went to the national championship game we were in New Orleans, right? And it was LSU versus Clemson. If you guys remember in the first term, for a while there was a tradition that we'd get McDonald's and fast food for those NCAA champions, and they'd be able to come in here and enjoy that. That actually started, funny enough, I didn't even mention this, that started during a government shutdown. All this work, remember, that we did has been done during one full government shutdown and 2 DHS shutdowns. So really amazing to see the planning that's going on. But back to kind of the last minute invitations. I remember flying back with him on Air Force One. It's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The man just does not sleep. I don't know where he gets the energy. I'm just trying to keep up with him then at 33, 34 years old. And he called me into his office on Air Force One, and he said, get Coach O on the phone. Coach Orgeron was the coach of LSU at the time. So it takes a couple minutes. Coach is celebrating. We get him on the phone, and he said, Coach, I don't care where you go. I don't care what you do, but I want you in the White House by Friday. It was a Monday night, then Tuesday morning. And so he looked at me, and I was like, okay, well, if I want a job come Saturday morning, I better get them in the White House come Friday. We got them in the White House that Friday. It was one of the great celebrations. I remember another time where I think it was 2019, the Little League champions ended up coming to the White House. And I kid you not, I was standing in the back of the Oval Office, and I didn't hear what the president said to the coach, but I saw the look on the coach's face. And I pulled aside the director of operations and deputy chief of staff at the time, and I said, you better clear people off the manifest of Air Force One. He's like, we can't do that. I said, well, tell the president that, because he just invited the team on Air Force One to go and take a ride with him. And sure enough, in about 2 hours after that invitation, you had some 20 little leaguers and their families on Air Force One, and I think some senior staff were traveling scheduled and not on Air Force One, if you will. So we operate on Trump time in this administration, and nothing's impossible when you have President Donald Trump at the helm.
So it might be happening. Thank you.
We're going to stay online. Andres, I see you have a question. If you could enable your mic, state your name and organization, ask your question.
Yes, hi, thank you very much. I'm Andres Fidanza from Argentina for El Observador, the Observer. I want to know, Andrew, if you think that this World Cup could help to make soccer even more popular in the US, and also, if I may, do you have any hunch or preference for the final?
Oh man, you're going to get me in trouble over here. I want it to be an incredible match. I think it is going to be an incredible match. You know, it's funny. I know that probably soccer purists won't like this, but I've never been to a match where they've had penalty kicks, and I would at least love to see it go to extra time. So we have an incredible match that's deserving of the final for the greatest World Cup ever. One of the things that you mentioned was making soccer more popular in the United States. And I know you asked a question, you mentioned the Knicks there. I think looking at the soccer viewership records, specifically in the United States, and what Fox was able to announce, I think along with Telemundo as well, you had more people watching the U.S. national team games in the United States, right, than you did the NBA Finals with the New York Knicks in there. Now, look, I know I'm biased to both the New York Knicks and the U.S. men's national team, but, I mean, that is incredible when you think that you're talking about a big market team and another one from Texas that has an incredible following as well. I think we've seen that soccer is going to continue to build. It wouldn't surprise me, and some of the commissioners might be hitting up my cell phone after this. So, guys, I'm not going to pick up until Monday or at least Sunday night, or I'll see you at the Meadowlands here in a couple of short days. It wouldn't surprise me if in a few years that soccer is the second most popular sport in the United States.
Great. Well, that concludes our briefing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, journalists, for attending. I hope you have a great time on Sunday, and whoever you're rooting for, I hope you win. So, thank you.
Anything to say to close up?
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And again, you know, the world fell in love. America fell in love with the World Cup, and Americans and the world fell in love with the United States again. So it's really an honor to. It's been an honor to take on this problem set, and it's been an honor to see it executed by incredible professionals like Assistant Secretary Namdar. And it's incredible to be able to show off the America that we know, that we love, to the rest of the world. So, thank you.